Hey everybody, Team Man again, bringing you guys another video. And guys, it is finally here, 31 days till WrestleMania. And as promised, this will be doing my 31 days of WrestleMania countdown, where I break down, in my opinion, guys, my opinion only, so please don't bash me on my countdown. In my opinion, ranking the worst all the way to the very best WrestleMania of all time in the T-Man, the expert of professional wrestling's opinion. I'm a guy who's watched every single WrestleMania. I've been a fan my whole entire life. So I've seen every single WrestleMania. I know the storylines going into every single WrestleMania. I've seen the build-up going into all 31 WrestleManias in the past. And now I am giving you my countdown. So here we go. I love countdowns. So let's begin here with number 31. And I guarantee, even on the weekends, you will be getting the 31 days of WrestleMania, my countdown. So let's start with 31, the worst WrestleMania of all time. And the first thing I want to say when I talk about the worst WrestleMania of all time is I want to say this is WrestleMania. And on WrestleMania, even though it's the worst WrestleMania of all time, WrestleMania is always the best show of the year, or supposed to be the best show of that calendar year for WWE. So, in this case, even though this was the worst WrestleMania of all time, for that calendar year, they did something really special. So, that being said, number 31 on the countdown is WrestleMania 11. WrestleMania 11 going down as the worst WrestleMania of all time. And when I do this countdown, I am reviewing the card. I am giving you every single match and reviewing the card of why it is the worst or why it is best and why it is ranked. So let's get right into it, guys. WrestleMania 11 began with Lex Luger and the British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith taking on Jacob and Eli Blue. Who? Jacob and Eli Blue, with Zeb Coulter as their referee, and I forgot what Zeb Coulter was known as at the time, and Luger and Bulldog winning that match. Jacob and Eli Blue, I don't know whatever happened to that tag team. This was a really rough time in the WWE when in 95, where they were going through a transitional period. This was the new generation era, and a lot of storylines weren't that great at the time. Moving on from there, and here's why it is ranked one of the worst WrestleManias. Just listen to this card and listen to the how the finishes of this match was. Razor Ramon taking on Double J Jeff Jarrett for the Intercontinental title. Jeff Jarrett going in as the Intercontinental Champion. Razor Ramon winning by disqualification, so not winning the title because of the 1, 2, 3 Kids interference. So, so here you go. And here's the thing, Razor Ramon and Jeff Jarrett, they were rivaling at the Royal Rumble. That's when Jeff Jarrett originally won the Intercontinental title from Razor Ramon. So we're seeing a rematch. So we're seeing a rematch of a stretched out rivalry that still does not get concluded with a clear-cut victory at a WrestleMania. So that, and for the Intercontinental title, something that really at that point, going into WrestleMania 11, was always highlighted so it was always glamorous. It was always towards the end of the card, and the IC title all the way up to 11 always meant something. So having a not, decised winner in that fashion being the second match of the card is one of the many reasons why this is ranked being the worst WrestleMania of all time. The Undertaker versus King Kong Bundy. Undertaker winning by a clothesline on King Kong Bundy. Now, King Kong Bundy was a guy who main evented WrestleMania 2 against Hulk Hogan, but he was a guy that Vince McMahon just pushed because how big he was. You know, Vince McMahon's always been about the big man, and especially back in that era, loved pushing the big man. But I don't think King Kong Bundy's a guy that never really got over. He's a guy that's not really... history don't look upon King Kong Bundy with a fond smile. He got where he did because of the size. He didn't have no agility. He had no skill. I mean, he wasn't even really that great at telling stories in the ring. So there you go. Moving on from that, Owen Hart and Yokozuna. And if you guys remember, Owen Hart said he was going to have a mystery tag team partner to go against the Smoking Guns, who was then the tag team champions, to go for the tag team titles. And it was Owen Hart and Yokozuna defeating the Smoking Guns. Moving on from there, we get Bret Hart and Bob Backlund in a I Quit match, in like a submission match. And this was very bad because Bret Hart and Bob Backlund were rivaling pretty much the whole year, 94 going into 95, early part of 95. And so we've seen that match many times. Bob Backlund getting the best of Bret Hart most of that rivalry, and he was the one pretty much costing Bret Hart the WWE championship, and actually beat Bret Hart for the championship. And then Bob Backlund loses it 2 days later to Diesel in like, what, 8 seconds, 9 seconds, something like that. So Bret Hart wins in a submission match against Backlund. Diesel and Shawn Michaels was not the main event. The World Heavyweight Championship. Diesel was the WWE champion at the time. Going in against Diesel, Diesel was the WWE champion. Going in against Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels at the time was a heel. The fans were kind of getting behind him. Like I said, this was a purgatory part of WWE where they knew Shawn Michaels was going to be the guy. You know, the guy that was going to take over from Bret Hart. But it was this weird transition when they were also trying to push Diesel. And Diesel was over with the fans, but they liked Shawn Michaels' ability. It was a really weird time in this new generation era when they were really building. And, I mean, Diesel goes down as Kevin Nash, going down as one of the worst draws as a champion of all time. And he had the title for a year. I mean, I don't think he's the worst champion of all time. I know he's the worst drawing champion of all time. It was because 95, I mean, they were close to going out of business. The WWE product really sucked. But out of that whole calendar year, I mean, that was one of the better shows. So Diesel beating Shawn Michaels. And then the main event, which I really frowned upon, was Lawrence Taylor, the former football player, taking on Bam Bam Bigelow. Now, no doubt about it, Bam Bam Bigelow's a Hall of Famer, but he was never a top name in wrestling. Okay, he was always a mid-carder. I mean, no doubt about it, a Hall of Famer. But he never wrestled in that top level, ever really wrestled in the top level. I think when he went to WCW, he had a couple programs with Goldberg that might have main evented some shows in WCW. But really, the main event WrestleMania, they have a football player and Bam Bam Bigelow. I understand all the WrestleMania and all the wrestling. Sometimes you get celebrities that come in or athletes that come in and wrestle, but never in a main event, especially at a WrestleMania. I am so disgusted, and still to this day, even though that was in 95, still disgusted that this day that was the main event of that show. So being with the Intercontinental title, just being a DQ, and seeing a match we've seen many times leading up to it, horrible. Shawn Michaels Diesel, even though that was the rivalry going into that year, and I agree with it, not going on last, I believe, was a mistake. The world title at WrestleMania should always go on last. And if it's not going to go on last, if there's a storyline bigger than that, then, you know, sometimes it's okay. But Taylor Bam Bam Bigelow, history does not, look back on that match and this pay-per-view, really well. So that is why that is ranked the worst WrestleMania of all time. And then I will bring you guys, the 30th WrestleMania, the worst WrestleMania of all time, tomorrow, and so on, all the way up until the day of WrestleMania, where I reveal my number one, my favorite WrestleMania of all time. So for you guys, don't miss this countdown. Make sure you subscribe, leave any comments you have down below, and I will see you guys for the next video. Take care, guys.